Today on Cosmic Disclosure, we are with retired SEAL Team 6 Chief Petty Officer Michael Jaco, who has over 35 years of extensive combat experience, including 11 years as a CIA security officer. Michael, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Emery. Thanks for having me.
Michael, before we jump into Cosmic Disclosure, let's talk about, why you're here and a little bit about the CIA and SEAL Team 6 and, why did you come out?
So being in the SEAL teams for 24 years and then in the CIA for 11, I learned a lot of different things. Learned a lot of things that I felt that could, help humanity. I was open up to some of this secret space program information. That's happened over time. All the things that I learned in the SEAL teams and in the CIA took me to a great level as far as like remote viewing, remote influencing, tapping into my intuition. All these different things have led me to tapping into my now memories of the secret space program.
What does a SEAL Team 6 Chief Petty Officer actually do?
Well, I started out as a senior enlisted E6. Yeah. As an E6, I was like in charge of operations. I was in charge of diving, weapons, demolitions, and stuff like that. Eventually, I rose to Chief Petty Officer. As a Chief Petty Officer, I was in charge of what we called at the time, boat crew. So in the squadrons, as they're called now, there's several different boat crews, 4 different boat crews usually, and I was in charge of one of those as a Chief Petty Officer. I was involved in combat in Panama during this time frame, and that was one thing that, as a SEAL, I'd always wanted to experience, and having that experience took me to a different level as well. Being able to control myself in a very high threat situation, still operate. I was very calm. All of the training that I'd had, throughout the years prepared me for that. I felt that the training itself was more intense than combat. Combat, as I would experience at SEAL Team 6, and then eventually when I got into the CIA, was a lot easier because I had all this intense training over the years.
Could you please tell me about your intuitive experiences, in the project?
So my intuitive experiences in the SEAL teams, I started to understand and see things before they happened. I became a remote viewer while in the SEAL teams. That was training that I did on my own. But I think everyone has those experiences over time. That gut feeling that a lot of people have, that's kind of the intuition coming in and informing us. A lot of guys understood that. I took it to another level. And the thing that really made it kick was when I started the hand-to-hand program in the SEAL teams.
Oh, could you tell me about that?
Absolutely. I gave demonstrations to Secretary of Defense, admirals all over the world. It was pretty impressive. And then from that point, I started out in other avenues, other career areas throughout my career. But that was one of the highlights of my career, starting the hand-to-hand program, and that opened me up to these intuitive experiences because I would actually have an out-of-body experience while I fought.
Well, you've spoken publicly about the secret space program and your involvement with that. Could you share that with us?
The public disclosure that I've been having has been a little piecemeal over the years. I had someone come to me approximately 5 years ago and said, "Do you know you're part of the secret space program, that you're a super soldier?" And I was like, "Super soldier?" That kind of resonates with me, but at the time I was like, I don't know. So 2 or 3 other people, I wrote a book, The Intuitive Warrior, and when I wrote that book, it attracted a lot of people from that genre. So more and more people started to come up to me and say, "Hey, you're part of the secret space program, you're a super soldier." And then finally started to resonate with me. I started doing the insight review on my own end, looking into it, and then I saw other people talk about it, and I was like, wow, there is something out there. There's something to this. And as I started to listen to some people, hear some Cosmic Disclosure occasionally, I would start to finish people's sentences. I was like, I know what he's going to say, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm involved in this program. I started to awaken more and more. It came from just bits and pieces of information to larger pieces, and now, after I've had this regression here in Gaia, it is really blown open. I've gotten a lot of information. It's amazing.
Michael, you have this regression, which is amazing, by the most famous psychotherapist and hypnotherapist, Barbara Lamb. who has regressed close to 3,000. Let's take a look at that clip.
I remember being in a room with my mother. I'm 3 or 4 years old, and there's several men in the room, and they're asking me if I want to be part of a space camp. My mother's excited for me. I'm excited. They tell me about the adventures that I'll have, the training that I'll have. It'll be unlike anything that I'll experience anywhere else. So then I remember being in a van, traveling with other children, and going to a military base. I live in Columbia, South Carolina at the time. And I remember traveling to Fort Jackson and going into an underground, seems like a building. We drive the van in, and all of us unload, and we start training. And the training is absolutely amazing. I remember levitating things eventually. I remember levitating myself. I remember learning how to overcome fears and learning how to take one part of the brain, the reptilian part of the brain, and turn it off was the things we were taught as children. The group that I'm with gets smaller and smaller over time, over the years. And then eventually I stopped going on these trips, but I have another memory where I'm actually there. So as a little boy, it's almost like a separation where I'm in my reality with my mother, and then I no longer go to the space camp. And then I have memories of actually being there. I was older. I was more like 5 or 6 at this point. It's almost as if they created a separate body for me, and then I started continuing on with a separate body. Although I had still consciousness that I came from my mother and I had a reality at that point, but now my consciousness is completely involved in this new training, this new experience. It was mainly mastering our bodies, mastering our consciousness that we were involved in the very early stages. Incredible things.
So in the CIA and working in the SEALs, you had gone through very traumatic experiences, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. And how do you separate that from the space program?
So this took me a while to make this distinguishing factor that I am actually living a separate reality in the secret space program concurrently while I'm having this reality. So I think a lot of people get confused with this, and I did for a long time, where are they taking me and putting me in this program and then bringing me back? No, there's a completely different reality that's going on there. When I feel these different things, I have this reality that I know that I'm experiencing, and I have these memories that seem to be coming through of a separate reality. The separate reality is completely different. I can distinguish the two. For instance, I've had my kneecap shattered in this reality as a Navy SEAL in a combat training mission. And that was a lot of pain. Now, I've also had experience where I've had the left side of my head blown off in a secret space program. And in that space program, basically they can put you back together. You can literally leave your body, soul can leave your body, they can put you in a tank, hook you up, regenerate anything that you've lost, even to the point where you're blown to bits. They still have your DNA pattern. They'll put you back together. It takes time if it's a major injury where you lost a large portion, like I did, of my brain and part of my head, but it translates back over into this side. I have those memories that come through, and I know it's from that reality. So they actually put me back together, and I remember coming back into my body. So there's a period of time where if they put you back together enough so your soul can come back in, it can happen for you. Now, over time, when I first started in the program, it had to be within 24 hours, but there's up to 30 days your soul can be out of your body and still come back. Now, if your soul doesn't come back in your body, your soul has decided to go on. But normally, from my experience, I remember hanging out and waiting for them to repair me enough so I could re-enter. It's almost like I'm in a gray area, but I have a connection. I know they're working. I'm like, okay, get it done, guys, so I can get back in. And then I get back in, and it's like, and I'm back in. I can feel it. I've had those experiences. So the same thing happened as a Navy SEAL, where I had my kneecap shattered, and it was like that pain experience. So the two are separate realities. I'm having a reality as a consciousness, as a soul consciousness in the space program and in this reality. So piece of my soul is in the space program, and I'm having that conscious connection with it now, and it's coming through stronger and stronger over time.
Can you explain how your soul was actually floating above you? You were aware of it, actually.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's taken me a little time to understand that. The first part came to me when I was like, wow, they regenerated me. I have memories of being blown up, on several occasions. I think I've been killed like 3 or 4 times. But I have memories of when my soul was physically out of my body. It's almost like you're in a dark land. You don't see really anything else, but you have awareness. You have an awareness that is beyond what you normally have in your physical reality. I knew, because of my training, that they were going to put me back together, because I'd seen other people, from my memories, that were put back together, had their souls come back in. So the training was, when you leave, for whatever reason, if you're killed in combat, remember, we're going to put you back together. Just hang and get the connection, and then when it's time, you'll know when the time is. You'll come back to your body, and that's the way it happened. It's pretty impressive.
So traditional science suggests that the temperature, on Venus is around 800 degrees. I mean, how would you survive there?
I went to the surface, and the surface is absolutely livable. So about 85, very balmy, very pleasant temperature at the equatorial area. Mm-hmm. So not the high temperatures that, supposed probes or disinformation campaigns or whatever's going on out there as far as like life on different planets and the moon. Right. There's life on every single planet. So there's life on Venus. We came into their atmosphere. I remember there being clouds and cover, and then eventually when we broke free from the clouds, the surface was clear. There were forests. There were animals and structures that were on the surface. Around the equatorial level is where I came in. There's probably about 15 or so of us that got out that did the training there with the Venusians, the love training that I talked about.
All right.
That was quite an experience, because we've heard that Venus was too hot to have life, and here we are landing on Venus, and there is life. So on the Venus surface, there's plant life that can live very comfortably in that 85 to 65 degree environment. So when the sun sets, it's still, very nice and balmy, 65 degrees, 85 during the afternoon. So I have those memories, and when I started to work with the plants and stuff like that, the plants were alive. They could actually unroot themselves and move. Yeah. So these old growth forests could actually get up and move around. You could communicate with them, not like we're talking, but it was telepathic communication, like I've learned. It was very valuable, not only the plant life, but also the animal life. I saw like a bear lion. So the lion was, on all fours, but it had a bear head. So the body of a lion with a bear head. I don't know why that stands out to me, but I think it was like because one of those followed me around. I just remember it was like a little pet. The animals there are not a threat. So there's no threat from the animals, the wildlife, everything.
Were there any lakes or streams or oceans?
So I don't remember any lakes or streams. I just remember that little area that I came out on. I remember mountains. I remember snow on the mountains. So this hot temperature thing is like, I don't know. So there was snow on the mountains. Wow. And where I was nice and balmy. So from there, I went underground. So the underground cities in Venus are unlike anywhere else in the cosmos that I've known. They're actually exquisite. And the people there are beautiful people. The way they have refined themselves through the love vibration translates into their physicality. So it's quite stunning. When you make eye contact with them, it's just like a love vibrational dump that you can't imagine. I was very primitive at the time, still a very hard, angry warrior, but they were able to, train that out of me, like we talked about earlier in other programs.
How long were you there, Michael?
6 months. So during that 6-month time frame, it was enough for me to, overcome my fears. I remember moving from one Venetian city to another. So they have many cities underground, and moving to different ones and learning different techniques for, connecting with the love meditations underground. Now you talk about streams, beautiful rivers, unbelievable. It was almost that you could go into a waterfall and you could feel the love from the water. Everything was of a love vibration, plant life, the foods we ate, everything was absolutely exquisite.
Michael, tell me more about the beings there. What do they look like? What were they wearing?
The Venusians are actually taller than we are normally. A small Venusian would be 6 foot, and most of them are 8 to 9 feet, and some even taller. They're perfectly proportioned. The men are, well defined, muscular. I remember they wear a lot of white, a lot of a light blue. It matched a lot of their eyes. A lot of them are blue-eyed, blonde hair, but that's not all. They have red-headed Venusians, a little dark complected. Mainly, they're very light-skinned, but I saw all the different hair colors and skin colors and so forth. Very stunning.
So, of course, here on planet Earth, we have one of the most massive diversities of human beings on one small rock. Mm-hmm. Did you see any correlation on Venus?
There's diversity there, but they're all Venusians.
Right.
If you go to different star systems, they're usually that star system. You go to Pleiades, they're Pleiadian.
Right.
You go to Arcturus, they're Arcturian. Same thing with Andromeda, they're Andromedans. Only on Earth, really.
Right.
Very, very rare instance where we have many different beings that have come and settled here.
Right.
It's quite a smorgasbord. It's one of the few places in the galaxy where this has happened, where this diversity of different groups. That's one of the reasons why it's taken us so long, because sometimes we don't always understand. And I'll say just understand.
Yeah.
I won't say work well together, because we do actually, but we're trained not to.
Right.
There's a lot of negative influence for us not to.
That's
so
right.
with the Venusians, programming, absolutely. So the Venusians are all in sync. They all work well together.
Yeah.
That love vibration, I see that in a lot of people here on Earth. If you love yourself,
right.
if you're loving other people, that really reflects. And if you're angry and you're egoic, that kind of reflects out too. So they're on the Venusian environment. Everything translates into beauty. Like I said, even the water has a exquisite vibration. Some of these negative races are reptilian. They are Draco-reptilian, to be precise. So the Draco-reptilian are very powerful, have been very powerful for a very long time. They're the ones that have that changed things back during the Lemurian, Atlantean time frame. It came in and basically tore down the systems that we'd evolved to a great level. Now they're being taken off world. So the negative ETs are fairly well removed from Earth. There's still probably a little, pockets of them here and there. They're being, sought out. It's hard to find these reptilians, these ET races, because they cloak themselves extremely well. I've seen some of these ETs when I was in different organizations.
What do they look like?
Well, they look like you and I. But when you look them in the eye and they get a little angry at you, they get a little slit eye. And that slit eye is like, oh, okay, there's the reptilian there. But not all reptilians are bad, like we talk about. And not all Draco-reptilian are bad. The Draco are on their way out. The positive Draco are helping to remove them from the planet. But just like I was involved in hunting down many terrorists, it took years to find them. It took years to find, I remember when I came into Panama, it took us a little while to find Noriega, even though we had planned that for months and months and months. So we came in with a perfect plan, and then he slipped through the cracks, and it took us months to find him. So there's, it takes time to identify them, track them down, and then root them out. So that's ongoing process. They're minions, so they You would think of the Draco reptilians as being at the top of the food chain as far as like the evil controls of Earth,
Right.
and then you work your way down. You have the different families that have controlled the banking and other industries, oil and so forth for a very long time. Those are being discovered and eliminated to a certain extent. And as we move down, we look at politicians and business owners and so forth. There's a lot to root out.
Seems quite the undertaking. Who are the positive ones?
So the positive ones are the ones that are trying to help humanity, like you and I.
Right.
We're doing the best that we can. We're working within a system that is very oppressive, but we're sharing this information right now. This
Right.
is very powerful, very enlightening. As we move forward with this information, people awaken to it, and it speeds the process. So there's lots of us that share this information, and that is what raises consciousness. And it's not like beating the other side. It's more of raising the consciousness. That beats the other side. Ultimately, that's where we're going to go. More people awaken to that and stop giving away their free will to the negative groups.
Yeah.
It speeds that process. The loving vibration. So the loving vibration is something I learned when I went to Venus. So the Venusians are training us in the program to use these love energy vibrations. And we use them, once we started to use them, in the early days we weren't aware of them or didn't use them the way we're using them now. But as we're using them now, we're extremely more effective in our forces.
Would you say that maybe we're being encoded in a way?
There is definitely encoding going on. There's technologies that are used, nanoparticles that come in and work with us, not as we think of now. So here in our reality, we hear of the nanoparticles and we think, oh, that's evil and stuff like that. And they're, looks like anything, it can be used for evil purposes. But for us, it's definitely positive. They help us think faster.
Mm-hmm.
They help us heal faster. They help us get bigger. There's lots of different things that nanoparticles do that are very, very positive.
Have you noticed that year by year, day by day, that you're getting that information back?
Yes.
That you're starting to recall?
Yes.
Total recall.
The total recall is definitely accelerating.
It is.
I'm doing every day. There's more information coming through.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Right.
the regression I had here, Gaia, was absolutely amazing. It was
Right.
mind blowing for me.
What else did you recall from the session?
Well, I remember actually going to the moon base. So there is a moon base. It's hollow.
Yep.
It's artificial structure. It's come from another part of the galaxy, transporting other ET races here. So my memories are that we flew there. Now, the transportation was interesting at the time. So around 9 to 10 years old, I remember going out to the moon base, and that was to expose us to other ET races. We'd already had holograms we looked at. We'd seen them in 2D movies. We talked about it. We described what they're like. So now we're actually going to interact with them. So the transportation at the time was super high tech. There was not like we see the rockets, blasting off.
Right.
We were catapulted it's like a tube, and we were shot through this tube, and we traveled to the moon. And there was no propulsion. We just drifted out, caught the gravity. We were slingshotted from the gravity of Earth to the gravity of the moon. We hooked it, and then came in. We landed on the far side of the moon. We came into a base where the doors opened. We went inside. Now, once we're inside, that's when things got interesting. That's when we started to have our integration. Now, we'd already had a little bit of integration with little grays. Little grays had come in. We'd learned more telepathy from them, some other skills that they taught us, how to work with the looking glass technology and so forth. Now we're actually going to work with big grays, the large grays. So the large grays are, I look at the little grays as basically being cloned little slaves, unfortunately. And they basically do whatever they're told to do. The large grays are thinkers. They're the ones that are proactive, have free will, like we have free will, and they're working with us. So they were kind of standoffish to us because, we're not advanced. So when we work with them, it was pretty huff. They were very huff with us, very gruff. And that's the way it was. Really, all the different ETs that we saw in there, and I saw many different types. They usually had their own areas inside there. We had our own area. Over time, we started to integrate with them more and more and more. There's large cities inside the moon and different size cities throughout the moon. So you travel to each one of them, but normally only on invite because there's ET races that have their own little areas in there. That's the same, as I would learn later, it is in many of the planets.
Like
around
little
our
different
system.
countries inside.
Excellent way to describe it. Yeah. So there's different countries, and ETs have their countries, and you're maybe invited to their country to train with them or interact with them. Sometimes we share information with them, but more often they share information with us. At least at that time frame, from 12 to like 17. I remember going back and forth from bases in dumb bases in the U.S. and back and forth. So I never really had much interaction once I turned 3 and 4 years old with the surface anymore. Right. All I remember is just doing underground bases, but those bases were like massive cities sometimes that we see, on the surface. Unbelievable.